Thought as we were beginning trail number 9, it would be good for us to kind of get a view of where we've been and where we're going. See, what we've been doing up until this point is saying, okay, guys, you know that you want to be a knight. You know that's your vision. But there's a bunch of stuff that stands in the way. And so how do you get to be what you're designing and longing to be? And so I thought I'd share with you just the 4 positions of a knight. Now, so you understand, the position of a spandex male is always in the shadows. It's always in darkness. So the spandex male is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy like you and I who desire to do that which makes a difference, the right thing. Now, as we move forward into the world of being a knight, you need to understand that the very first position that many of us find ourselves in from time to time is we go to engage in the battle and we get hit. And when we get hit, beyond our armor, beyond the chainmail, when it hits us, we fall. Now, when you're fallen, you're no longer in the battle. Swords down, you don't have anything to fight with, you're wounded, you're not engaged in the battle. Now, you're not out of the battle, you're simply not engaged in the battle. Now, we fall in a variety of ways. That's what our shadow is. The thing we've been talking about for the last couple of times we've been together is about our instincts and all the things. When we fall, we are not making an impact. We're not done being a knight, because you can rise, God will forgive, you can repent, you can turn from whatever it is that's happened either to you, which you might be a victim of, or what you caused by choices that you made that were dumb. All right. Now, when you're in a fallen position, however, you're going to have to get healed. You're going to have to get fixed. You're going to have to work it through. And that's what we've been talking a little bit about, the choices when it comes to our instincts and making much better choices in those areas. And we'll talk a lot about how God can heal and protect all that. Now, once you've got that position down, of I don't want to be in a fallen position, you say, okay, I think I'm ready to advance. I think I'm ready to come forward here. The problem is the moment you do that, you find out that you have a pretty big enemy who knows what they're doing. The world, the flesh, the devil, they fight against us all the time, right? And so you go, and I'm going to do the right thing, and all of a sudden it just gets this desire to, man, I got to run. It's called fleeing. It's actually not a bad position for many of us as knights. We turn and we run. Now, we turn and we run because on this moment, in this journey that we're on, we have to say, if I fall, I'm less effective than if I live to fight another day. So I retreat, I come back to fight another day. So in the Bible, it talks about this. When it talks about the fact that with the kryptonite of a male that is sex, if you and I are feeling like we're about to give in and fall and lose control, then flee youthful lust, it says in the Bible. Run. Keep in mind that when you retreat, it's always with the idea that I can pull back and come back to fight another day, another hour. So instead of being wounded and needing to be healed, I'm now alive. I'm not a coward. I'm actually being wise. Now, some of us will flee as knights because we're cowardice, and that's a whole other issue. Then you'll regroup. That's sort of really actually falling at that particular point. You'll regroup. You'll get back in. The third position of a knight is where we're starting to move into. You're not going to be falling. You're not going to be fleeing. You're actually going to learn to stand. Now, stand is that position where you say, you want to get to anybody behind me? You're going to go through me. You'll also discover that when you stand, you don't stand alone. You stand with other guys that will fight for you and with you and be on your side. In other words, there'll be warriors on either side. Standing actually is never done alone. In the Bible, it actually talks about put on the full armor that you have from God, put this on, and take your stand against the movement of the enemy, against what Satan's trying to do. So you can imagine if somebody wanted to attack somebody that was important to you. Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your children, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's somebody at work, maybe it's a helpless victim. Maybe it's somebody that is in that what we call the widow or the orphan or the wounded, the prisoner category. If we're in that place where there's somebody that's wounded and you want to say you want to get to them, you're going through me, it's a great warrior. That position we're going to teach us to do as a way of life. As a matter of fact, I believe that a knight can live in that position. I believe you can not just be falling, you will fall, and not just flee. In fact, I think you'll find those less and less in your life as you grasp what it means to be a knight. What you'll discover is this position, however, you can comfortably stay in it pretty long. A couple of reasons. Number one, it's a little bit more relaxed. 2, it's about people behind you. It's always about others. 3, you're not doing it alone. You have other warriors with you. You stand. Everything about the Roman military, even our military, is done in units and groups functioning together. You stand not alone, you stand in group, right? However, there's another position. That's sort of where we're trying to take us to really understand all that you are. Matter of fact, over the next couple of weeks when we're together, we're going to be zeroing in on this position. That position isn't just standing. That position is where you advance. Where you say, I'm about to attack. I'm not just waiting to be attacked. I'm going to attack. In the Bible, it actually says that you have divine power with this weapon to demolish strongholds. Now, I don't mean the sword, but actually, God says, my Bible, the Word of God, is a sword. There are a lot of weapons we have to use to advance against wrong in the world. Really what you're longing for. It speaks deep into your heart. You as a guy say, I really want to get to that place in my life where I can advance against that which is wrong. Now, here's the problem. You can't stay here very long. You'll tend to advance alone. You'll move forward. The other guys might follow, but you'll tend to advance alone. And the battle's strong, and you can only demolish those strongholds for such a period of time when you have to sort of pull back into a standing position. So when you're advancing, you need to understand that this is probably a unique place for us as knights to be. So how are we going to learn to move forward? From the fallen to fleeing to standing to advancing position. We're going to learn to do it by having a series of lights that will guide us. Those lights kind of guide the path, the trail that we're on. Why do we call these things trails that we get together with each week and talk about them? Because there's a trail that will get you to the place, either a trail that you'll have to create by changing the forest, or a trail that's already there that'll get you in a place to fulfill who you are as a knight. Now, here's where we're going. We've been kind of working our way through all the things that cause us to fall and flee. We've been learning a little bit more about now the two positions of standing and advancing, and that's where we're going to go over the next several weeks here. So join us. Join us when we consider what I would call the traditions of a knight, the traditions of a warrior. Consider this sentence about warrior traditions. God put several processes in place for the knight beginning his quest. That's our longing, right, guys? Which can provide a map with the specific trail markers in order to help guide his way. That's the lights we're talking about. Those are the trail markers that are going to guide us in the direction of our lives. This will actually help you accomplish the vision to be a knight. Some of the things we're going to talk about in the next few minutes are some of the most exciting concepts for me. It actually is what took me from the place in my life where I spent most of my life, at best, falling. At best, falling. Not even fleeing. I mean, falling. I might have said I wanted to be a knight. I didn't want to be a spandex male. But I spent my life just really falling. I get up, I'd fall, I get hit, I was wounded, I couldn't do all this. These trail markers are what are going to help you to understand how do I begin to advance in a knight so that as a knight I can advance. All right, so look at number one. Number one is this. The trail marker one is the inner voice. Trail marker one is the inner voice. It's what's deep inside of us. That we have this sense that, and it was planted there, and it was, to be honest with you. It was planted there even before anybody knew you were conceived. It was planted there by God. It's part of your calling. It's part of what you hear. It's part of what you understand about what makes you unique, what makes you different. My inner voice is different than my four sons' inner voices. In other words, Josh, Joel, Caleb, and Seth have a different inner voice than I do. Planted by God, has some similarities, but they're different. You have a different one from every guy sitting in your campfire, every guy sitting there with you. You have a different voice. It's uniquely formed for you. I always love the fact that my thumbprint is the only thumbprint like it in the world. In fact, it's the only thumbprint of all history like this. As a result of that, it speaks to my uniqueness. Your inner voice speaks to your uniqueness. One of the markers, one of the torches, one of the lights you need to find in your life is that of your inner voice. Listen to this. Number one, it is written, underline the word written, deeply on a man's heart and calls him to God and to the life quest that God, he, has prepared for him. This is what is written so deeply in your soul that if you don't stop for a few minutes and reflect on it, you'll never find it. So I'm going to ask you to do it. I'm going to ask you to do something that's kind of fun to do. It's a little risky for you that don't like to stop and say, what am I all about? You just want to do life. You just want to get through it. You just want to keep surviving. But if you want to start to advance, if you sort of want to go down the trail that you were designed to go down to in your life, You're going to have to stop and do this. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you for a few moments just to think, what are the things that brings me fullness and joy and longing? What are the things that cause me to come alive? And guys, this is much deeper than saying sex. This is much deeper than saying eating. This is much deeper than saying getting a paycheck. This is, what is it in my soul that I've known for a long time if I ever paid attention to it? Maybe I knew it better when I was 4 years old than I do now at 44. The reality is, what is it within me? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take about 30 seconds, and I just want you to think through some words, only words, just words, not sentences, not phrases, just a word. And let's maybe try to write down 3 words that speak to the longing of your heart, that kind of resonate deep within you, that came probably not from you, but are now part of you, came from God as you were designed to be. Now, it's going to be a hard exercise for some of you, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to take 30 seconds, just going to be quiet here for 30 seconds, and I want you to think, and then write down, and just in your column, right there next to number 1, just write down 3 words, as best you can, that reflect something that brings you fullness and joy. All right? 30 seconds. Yeah, it's interesting. While you're thinking, I'm reviewing mine. I'm thinking through my words. Words that I've known since I was a little kid. I was a child. I absolutely loved to communicate. I loved to talk. I loved to get praised for my cleverness. Remember, it's easier to be clever than it is to be kind. I loved to get praised for the words I would use. All my life, the desire to communicate is deep in my soul. I know that's not true for some of you. Some of you, talking to people any more than on a one-on-one is an overwhelming prospect. For me, to be honest with you, the bigger the crowd, the easier it is for me to communicate. Another word that comes to mind is encourage. I've loved to encourage. I don't know what it is about me. I just love to come alongside somebody and just encourage them to move them from point A to point B. It's my words. Another one that has really just changed how I think and who I am is protect. From a little kid, I just wanted to protect. Now, there's some universal side to that one. 'Cause I think men are really kind of wired to have a battle to fight for, to have things to protect. But there was something about wanting to protect what was and moving people to what needs to be. In order to advance, you got to build a strong protection to move forward. That's become very much part of my life. And to be really honest with you guys, what I'm doing right now with you, right here now, is very, very close to my voice, my inner voice. I get more alive here than just about any other area. And the only area that beats it is time with Lynn, the boys, my grandson. That's really what does it, more than anything else. It's this, what we're doing right now. What are your words? Now here, do something really cool. Make sure in your campfire today, you tell the guys what your words are. Now, you might not have anything written down. I know some of you guys, it was easy. You had those 3 words. It was pretty easy. Some of you just sat there the whole time and you came up with 1 word, and you're not even sure that was it. And some of you don't have anything written down. It's okay. Well, as we talk today and as we think over the next several weeks, because we're going to look at this, 3 weeks from now, we're going to be looking at some stuff that I think is going to just take you to the next level in this area. But as you think it through, as you think about this light, this torch in your life, what I want you to do is I want you to get this sense of what a difference you can personally make. So when you get to your campfire, even if you don't have a word written down, give them something that gives it like an area to look at, something that you are at least interested in. Look at number 2. When this particular inner voice is followed, it assists man in a new way of, and there's several things about these words that you're going to have to grasp. And we'll kind of walk through them sort of in rapid succession. They're words that when you understand this is what these words should reflect. What the words should reflect, what the words should kind of pull out of us is this light, this impact on the world around us. See, my inner voice is not designed to be self-absorbed. My inner voice is to be burning as a flame so that others can see it. It's going to give light. So here's some of the things it'll look at. Number one, it'll serve others, serving others. Your inner voice is designed to help you find new ways to serve others. If it's not about serving others, it's probably not a proper voice. It just is. You can probably start to pull that word out and find the other one, because God is never about being self-seeking. It's always about others. Two, fulfilling his potential. A man, when followed, will assist a man in new ways of fulfilling his potential. This is going to help you and I to understand why I'm here. When I took my sons off on the whitewater canoe trip, and we ended up camping at night, and I gave them a new family crest, and each one of them had their names, what their names mean, what their calling is, what we have seen as their giftedness, and we put in new symbols for each guy, and they all interconnected. It was really a cool thing. The guys began to understand how they fit into our family, but also how all the other guys did. And it's interesting as I think back to that magical time for us as a family. And we renew this every year. Every year the guys get a letter from me explaining where they are in their journey and what I've seen in that journey this past year. When we go through that family crest, it is that opportunity for them to see what is their potential. My one son can do something that my other son cannot do. And it's not just in athletics or in the arts or in academics. It actually has something to do about what they were created to do that is unique to their voice. Guys, you're going to get excited about this light of your voice. Look at the next one. When followed, it assists a man in a new ways of feeling truly at peace. Feeling truly at peace. I don't know about you, but I have spent a lot of my life not at peace. Maybe it was decisions I was making. Maybe it was I didn't feel like I was doing what I was designed to do. Maybe it was just because life is overwhelming and exhaustion. I'm not sure what my lack of peace was. I know some of you guys struggle with that. I mean, you're doing some things right now that you're not sure are right, and you feel that lack of peace. Your inner voice is going to start to pull you with an otherly direction, with a potential direction, to this place where God gives. Just so you know, Satan can't imitate peace. The world really, honestly, can't imitate peace. You can't muster up within you peace. Peace comes from God as you connect your inner voice to Him. It's an awesome thing. So this is what this light will do. This torch, this guide on your path will help you with. Look at the last one. Last one says this. When followed, assists a man in new ways of gaining respect from those he leads. Though I don't miss that one. Write that word down, leads. From those he leads. This voice, remember now, it's not about you to be self-absorbed. It's about those who come behind you. As you know, when we talk in terms of a knight of the 21st century, we think of a squire, we think of a warrior, we think of an oracle, wisdom, we think of a person who has a group of people around him, round table, and ultimately we think of one who is defense. That means everybody behind him is safe because we're building towards leadership. Everything about us is wired to do that. It's never about our kingdom. It's never about us. It's about those who we protect, those who we care, those who follow what we lead. That's what the inner voice is helping you do. Look at number 3. Number 3, we'll provide what the forest needs in order to be improved by a knight's presence. This is where I get really excited about the collective impact that we can have, guys. When my voice is functioning and your voice is functioning, we are changing the forest exponentially. I can change the forest on my own, but if I have you at my side helping me and you have somebody at your side helping you, we're going to make a huge difference. That's why standing is done in units. When you advance, the unit will follow until you then stand in that position and then advance again. You know how that works, right? So in your campfire, you might go, and there's a guy in your campfire that's like me. I like to talk, so I'll talk too much in the campfire. I might be a guy, though, that when I like to talk in encouraging terms to others. That's what I like to do. Let's say you have a tough message you have to give a guy. A guy's making some choices. Let's say that, remember how we talked about how you need to be very careful how you handle your sexuality? Let's say that somebody in your campfire is living with somebody, having sex with somebody before they're married. Now, we told you that the 5 reasons for sex means that it only really works in God's context. So somebody in your campfire is in that area, and you feel you need to say something about it. You just feel really led to say something. but you're not a good encourager. So you let the other guy in your campfire say encouraging words. Let your other guy build people up. And then with a carefully crafted sentence, you just say your word, concerned about their highest good because you're afraid they'll spend their life falling or fleeing if they play in that realm. See where I'm going with that? Now, I'm not saying, please, don't think I'm telling you, go check out who's living with somebody and kind of confront them. I'm just saying how this works, how the community is designed to work. The forest gets better when we start sharing what our inner voices, our skill levels are, and you all have them. Let's say there's 8 guys in your campfire. Each one of you has a voice, and those voices actually work together in that community. We're going to talk about how that community works in a minute. 4, will allow the personal pain and demand perseverance from the knight who chooses to accept his personal quest and journey. You're going to find that as you find out what your voice is, your inner voice, you're going to have to understand that you're going to move forward, and moving forward is against the opposition of the forest, right? So there'll be pain. There'll be discomfort. It's never about comfortability. Inner voice actually isn't really about comfortability. Matter of fact, not a whole lot of things about nights are about comfortability. What it really is about as I move, as I advance, as I start to think about what my journey is, it's about the fact that it's probably going to take some effort to go to the next phase. When my grandson was born, he came down a birth canal. That pain, that effort made his muscles work better. The pain of his mom, the pain of him to just kind of squirt through that whole area and come into our world was good for him to advance forward in his quest. Guys, don't be afraid of pain. We've talked about that. But don't be unwise. Don't do it because you are falling or fleeing. Do it because you're learning to stand and advance. Look at the next one, number 5. This will need to be revised after unhealthy detours. I have to tell you guys that this path that we're on, this trail that we're on, following the lights seems like it's easy, but we take stupid detours. In your nightly news, you'll notice a man by the name of Eli. Eli in the book of Samuel, he is this amazing man. He's a judge. He's a high priest. He's this guy that is going to make a difference in the nation of Israel. The problem is he can't make a difference with his own sons, Hophni and Phinehas. What those 2 men are doing is they are abusing their temple responsibilities. They're basically, to make a long story short, if you read the story, they're stealing meat that's supposed to be offered to God, and they are using women outside the temple who are sort of there to serve the temple. Pretty bad. God says to Eli, dude, stop it. You got to stop what's going on. Now, you can't force your kids to obey you. I will tell you that right now, guys. God is a great father, and we have a lot of kids who don't obey him. You can't force your children to obey it, but you have to enforce the principles. Eli knows this is wrong. He knows it's going on, but he does nothing about it. And God says, be careful. As a result of that, the 2 sons will be judged by God, and actually both will die on the same day. And Eli will also die on that day. That's a pretty huge detour. Pretty huge, big thing. That's because Eli would not at any time get back on trail. Guys, when you detour, when you find something going on wrong, if he had just stopped and said, my sons are messing up, I must deal with it. You might not be able to stop it, you just don't allow it. You know what I mean? You don't help and let it happen on your watch. You ask them to leave. You ask them not to be involved. You do whatever it takes. You can't make them do the right thing, but you can help them from doing the wrong. Well, what Eli does is he does nothing, and his detour becomes permanent. Guys, there's no need for your detour to become permanent. What you need to do is you need to go with your inner voice. You need to understand that when you mess up, revise the direction you're going in. But I'll tell you, you're going to get back to the same voice that God's called you in all along. We got a whole bunch of detours we've had in our life, but the voice remains the same. Look at the next one. This is the next torch we can look at. Similarities within each knight's quest map. Number 1. Each knight has the need for elders or mentors in his life to teach him. Each knight has a need for elders or mentors to teach him. So, you and I have an inner voice. It's one of the lights. Another one are elders. I have 4 guys that speak into my life. I speak into theirs. They speak into mine. Those guys kind of work on it. But I actually have known this all my life. My dad, for the first couple of years of my life, was an excellent mentor. As you know, about 11 or 12 years of age in my life, my dad changed. I had a guy by the name of Bill Taylor. I was in 6th grade. Bill Taylor was a professional baseball player years before. I think he played in AAA. I don't think he ever got to the pro teams. He was a catcher. He used to teach me all kinds of things that you could do to hide a spitball and change the dynamic of a ball to give it a little bit more movement. And he told me it was illegal, but it was fun to do when he was a catcher. He met Christ. Well, he was changed. He was a changed man. By the time I met him, he was probably 60. At least he felt like 60. He might have been 80. He might have been 40. But, you know, it's when you're in 6th grade, it's hard to tell. Bill Taylor did something in my life I'll never forget. He took me to my first college football game. He took me with a bunch of other guys from a Sunday school class that he was teaching that I was in. We went to a Princeton football game against Colgate. I can't even remember whether Princeton won or lost that day. I remember it was my first college pennant that I ever got. I remember sitting there with Bill Taylor, and I felt so valued because a man said, I want to pour into who you are to help you become the man you are. And Bill Taylor was one of those guys who was just unselfish. He was that way. That's an elder. That's a mentor. You and I need those in our life. Be very deliberate in searching for, longing for, praying for, asking for mentors. Look at a couple of things that mentors are. This elder is. They're going to be inspired by what he's accomplished. You know, you and I need to understand that these areas that he's going to teach us in are areas that will inspire us to move forward by the things that he's done. You need somebody that's done some living. They don't necessarily have to be older than you, but they have to have accomplished some things that you go, wow, I can learn from that. See, if you're going to advance forward on the trail, you're going to need somebody that's a little ahead of you on the trail. Then you might have mentors that will help you financially, and mentors that will help you spiritually, and mentors that will help you in relationships, and you might have mentors that have different skill sets, but they have to be somebody that inspires you. If they don't inspire you, they're probably not listening to their inner voice, and it becomes a dangerous person to follow. A lot of people that we consider to be people we follow are more out of fear or more out of desire not to be rejected than out of mentoring or elders. So be very careful in this one, guys, because what you're looking for is a guy that calls you up. He never tears you down. Builds you up, gets you moving forward from the position of fleeing to standing to advancing, that kind of thing. Look at the next one. Each knight has the need for elders or mentors in his life to teach him by their example of what a strong inner core and high values look like. You need them to be an example of somebody who is doing this well. So not only do they have accomplishments that you're looking at, you guys that they have the moral standards. Now we're actually going to spend 2 weeks talking about one of these lights. The last light we're going to talk about is all about principles and your standards, and we'll spend 2 weeks on those. They're key. But what we need to understand is you need to find a guy that has values that are at least at your level, if not even higher than yours, that move you forward. So be careful, again, what kind of man you follow. Next one. This elder or mentor is going to teach us to be relationally encouraged as his wisdom is sought by others. You're going to discover that the guy that's involved in your life, other people want to be around. That's pretty encouraging for you. You're going to understand that this person is not just desired by you, but they're desired by others. That's one of the most encouraging things about some of the guys in my life. The things they know, the people that go to them for advice. Every time I hear them giving advice to somebody else, I feel honored that they're involved in my life. Again, I have 4. You don't necessarily need to have 4. You could have 12. You could have 2. But you need somebody that's going to move you forward on the trail. Just keep seeking and asking. 4. To learn from his mentor's mistakes. Understand that a mentor is not perfect. So learn from their mistakes. They have fallen. They are fleeing. They're learning to stand. Learn from their mistakes. It becomes an extremely important process. Look at the next one. The value of confrontation and its importance in self-improvement. Know that you're going to have to, as a mentor, realize that confrontation comes from guys like that. So if you are mentoring, you will learn to confront when you need to. I've had to learn to do that as a father. I've had to learn to do that as a friend. I've had to learn to do that as a leader. Know that a good mentor is willing to confront and say the hard things. Look at the next one. A good mentor is going to have some technical skills that are useful when dealing with the how-tos of life. I don't know how to hunt because my dad never taught me. In fact, I've never been hunting. I probably would not be able to cut open a deer once I shot it anyway. I'd feel bad about Bambi or whatever it is. But nobody ever taught me how to do it. If I ever went hunting without being taught, I'm pretty sure I'm shooting my foot off. I wouldn't want to because I really don't like pain, but you need somebody to walk you through things. Your mentor has to have some technical skills that'll help show you where the pitfalls are, how to move forward. Look at the last one. To discern his inner voice. You and I need to find out what drives your elder, what drives your mentor. You got to find out where his inner voice is. And to be honest with you, you probably don't have a good mentor if he doesn't have at least some awareness of his inner voice. I think my dad actually had an awareness of his inner voice, and when he pushed God away, the God connection to that inner voice, which would make it expand and grow, it's still there. It just sort of got ignored in his life, and he sort of lost the sense of it. Because I actually really believe my dad had a clearer calling when I was 10 years old than when I was 50. I believe that a good elder, his voice will continue to expand and grow, as we've just talked about. Blackjack Pershing was an interesting leader in World War I. Matter of fact, he will hold the only title, this title is the only man that ever held it, and that's the General of the Armies, of all the armies. Now, George Washington will hold it after he died. It will kind of be given to him posthumously, but this will be the only man to ever receive this thing, which means that during the World War I, well over 3 million troops are under his control. That's unbelievable. Blackjack Pershing was an interesting man who had fought Ponce Villa in Cuba. He had been involved in some battles in the Philippines. And he was always a diplomat. He always cared about people. He always tried to understand. In fact, in the Philippines, he learned the tribal languages to try to help people. He was making this huge difference. To this day, generals study Blackjack Pershing. They just appreciate him. Certainly in the Second World War, Eisenhower and Bradley and Patton and all those guys all worked off of him and his example. The thing that's fascinating about this man was he understood some things about people. I want to put a quote up about him that I thought was really fascinating. A competent leader can get efficient service from poor troops, while on the contrary, an incapable leader can demoralize the best of troops. Wow. Here's a man who, I got to be honest with you, I get why Bradley thought he would be a good general to follow. I get why Eisenhower or Patton or Marshall, why those guys thought they were good ones to follow. Because this guy was a good mentor. He knew the power he had over his troops, 3 million troops under his control. He knew the power he had, and if he wasn't a good leader, it would demoralize them. Gentlemen, you're called to be leader. If you're ever going to advance, you're going to be a leader. And if you're not careful, you will demoralize the world around you. Or, if you find the right elder in your life, you find the right torch to guide your path, you're going to find that you're going to become a much better leader, and people will not be demoralized, but they'll actually be called up behind you. Remember, guys, our job is always to call you up, never to tear you down. Anybody can do that. That's easy. That's spandex. Real knights call men up. All right, look at the third light. Each knight has a need of a tribe or a community to live within, so that, and I'm going to talk about what we're going to talk about in those areas, but just take the word tribe for a minute. To help you understand what tribe is I have a tribe that I live with. Lynn, my wife, and right now my 2 sons that are still at home, Caleb and Seth. They're our tribe. That tribe expands when I include Joel and his girlfriend, and Josh and his wife, and my grandson Cole. When that relationship begins to build, it goes into your extended family. It goes into my work environment. It goes into my church at LCBC. It goes into my relationship with the team at nights. It goes into all the things that I am involved in. It also goes into my neighborhood. It goes into my community. And in my community, these tribes all impact me. Now, the key here is that you select well what you glean from the tribe. One of the lights on the trail is this tribe. So let's take a look at some of those things that we can glean from those relationships. Look at this first one. Here's what you're going to do. He can learn from the diverse cultures that are part of his social setting. You and I have all kinds of things we can learn from that are going to give us perspective. Have 4 sons, so you can imagine what Josh marrying Kareen does to our family, what Joel's relationship with Holly does to our family, what Caleb's relationship to Allison does to our family. I'm learning different things, not just from a female point of view, Because I have a very, very outdoorsy kind of wife who just is really, really comfortable doing guy kind of things. So now all of a sudden I have all these girls around that are girls. And it doesn't mean that Lynn is the most feminine, most beautiful woman I've ever met, but yet she really can play baseball with the best of us. Now I have girls that can't even stand watching baseball. And go, you don't like watching baseball? What is that? Learning diversity. I learn it not only from there, I learn it in every environment I'm in. Every tribe has diversity. Every tribe will teach me different things. Don't be afraid to learn. It'll help you get perspective on the world you're going to lead, on the forest you're going to change. Sometimes we're trying to change things in the forest that don't need to be changed. We just thought they did because we were narrow-minded in our thought process. A tribe will help you see that. Secondly, he can rely on different individuals to carry out their roles, allowing him to concentrate on his own skill areas. I love this one. I love the fact that I can accomplish a lot more if I let you do what you're good at. I'll do what I'm good at. One of the things I love, Roy has a very large company that he oversees called Pennsylvania Counseling Services. He has this sort of a triad that sits at the top of that team, and one member does one thing, and one member does another, and he does another. And I've watched that work well. I'm on a staff of a very large church, and I watch a leadership team of 5 people, each one doing their skill sets. One handles finances, one handles facilities, one handles personnel. You know, I watch all these things take place in larger organizations, and you realize that what's happening is we're unleashing skill levels. But if the individual was trying to do all those skill areas, nothing would be accomplished. So it's the tribe that jumps into that. Take advantage of those around you. Learn those things. Don't use, rather take advantage of. So together we can advance. Next one. He can have opportunities to develop his personal interests by serving in his community. You want to have a chance to experiment with your inner voice? You can take your personal interest, and by getting involved in the community, you can find out what does it for you. We recommend our guys at our nights at LCBC, we recommend them to consider being a big brother in the Big Brother, Big Sister program, especially in the Yamachi program, which deals with children whose parents are incarcerated. We want them to experiment with that because it allows us to see beyond our own world, right? But it also finds out where their voice are. And it's really fun to watch the guys step up and do this. It's fun to watch guys that make commitments. And we have a variety of areas that we say, hey, get involved in. But more importantly, don't wait for some leader to tell you where to get involved. Get involved. Experiment with your inner voice. Look at the next one. He can feel protected by living in a social setting where rules for behavioral conduct are both expected and enforced. Your protection level is going to be enhanced by being in a tribal area where things are taken care of. For example, I live in a community that has a school system, a police system, a fire system. It has ambulances available, a hospital close by. All of that is designed for protection. Take advantage of what's around you. Now that's in a very functional way, but there's so many practical ways. I trust that my bank will handle my meager income effectively that I place within its care. There's sort of this idea, I just don't stick it underneath my mattress. That's how we use tribes. Be wise, gentlemen, in what you do with that. Be wise with how you trust and invest. But there's an added level of protection you and I are going to have. Look at the next one. He can see his relationship needs met, thus creating greater interpersonal wealth for him. When I have certain things that are taken care of by the tribe, exponentially, I get a chance to grow. I don't think anything is seen clearer of that concept than in the movie Last Samurai. Last Samurai is a very interesting movie. It's about a guy by the name of Nathan Algreen, who kind of lost his way during the Civil War. He was a warrior, became an alcoholic, the things he's seen, the things he experienced. So he became like this professional soldier, and he's captured and ends up becoming part of a samurai tribe. When he's captured, the last thing he does is he kills one man, one samurai. When he's brought into the community, he's placed within the home of the man he killed, so that, in essence, the man's wife who he killed is now caring for him. Her name is Taka. I want you to consider this scene. He's sitting there now. He is learning the art of the relationship of a samurai within a tribal setting. But he also knows that the 2 little kids in the house and this woman Those kids are orphaned from their father, and she became a widow because of him. As he realizes and as he grows and as all the hardness, and he's in touch with his inner voice, and he starts to be mentored by men of character instead of some of the stuff he was involved in before, and he finds himself trying to communicate how sorry he is for killing Taka's husband. And there's this amazing moment when she says, "I forgive you." At that moment, amazing healing takes place. As we pull away from that scene and we watch what happens, we watch what a tribe can do. This guy is learning how to be a man of character, and he's learning it from some of the very people he wounded. That's powerful, powerful stuff. You and I can learn to do that as well. I think that if we stop for a few minutes and say, what's truly, truly valuable? Let me show you a couple more things here that I think will help on the way out. Each knight has a need to meet his soul's request for a life theme and spiritual guidance. Each one of us needs the next light, spiritual guidance. What's taking Nathan from the man he was to where he's going is he comes into this community, and there's this sense of a God aura. Now, this community does not have the Christ connection where the Spirit can come alive, but it's speaking deep into his longing for spirituality. Spirituality is that light that will say, I got to get to what I was created to be. Let me show you a couple things on this. We've talked a lot about it. The opportunity, the importance of the meaning that is given to his life and to his legacy is evident by his daily choices. That in essence, who we are is the sum total of our choices. And what this spiritual thing is going to do is going to guide us into moral clarity. We're longing for moral clarity. God has it. He's perfect. He doesn't sin. He has no shadow. So you need to connect into that. We talk a lot about that here, and we'll continue to talk about that as we get deeper into this. Look at the next one. The opportunity to start again when he has failed. I'm sorry. You're forgiven. I'm sorry. It's okay. Let's go forward. Those are what God does, and actually what enables us to do that with one another. It's really a sign of a pretty clear night when he's able to forgive. The next one, the value of accepting and having an understanding of his own worth. You will not understand who you are without the worth of God planted deep within you. You won't understand it. So if you're going to understand this, you're going to have to understand all that you are, your voice and everything else, when you understand your value to the Creator. You're not a chemical reaction. You just didn't happen, and you haven't just been forgotten. You have a Creator who desires a relationship with you. And how do you see that? You're making a Christ choice, giving him spiritual rebirth. We've talked about this. We've talked about the Christ choice in your life. Spirituality, what makes that which has been dominant, your shadow, become less impactful is to add the Spirit back into your life through Christ. At that particular point, that flame starts to burn bright in you, and clarity comes to make your knighthood all that it's supposed to be. Having an ongoing daily relationship with God. It's going to give you an opportunity to have this opportunity every day to have a relationship with the Creator. When you start to do this, it's powerful. First thing I do when I get in the shower every morning, that's the first thing I do in the morning, is get in the shower. I'm getting to the point where I don't move until I get in the shower, is I'll spend time walking through the 6 pieces of armor that God's given me from Ephesians 6, and then thanking God for at least 10 things. And by the time I'm done, I suddenly have a perspective of who and what he is and what he's about to do in the day in front of me. I didn't lose it during the night. I just kind of refresh and do that. You need to have that opportunity to connect. So where does all this take us? Where does it end up? Let me give you this in conclusion. The night is designed to seek out adventures, to grow within the tribe, and respond to his soul's call to a higher life purpose. We're designed to live that way. Now, keeping this in mind, you're going to reach down, you're going to grab your sword, you're going to bring it back into your life, and you're going to say, I want to be the man that I was designed to be. So you realize that you will no longer just spend your life falling. You'll no longer spend your life fleeing. You'll no longer spend your life simply standing, although that's pretty powerful. If I get a whole ton of men doing that, we're in a great shape. But you'll spend your life going down the trail that you were designed to go down, advancing. And when you do, the traditions that you'll know as a warrior will change the world, the forest around us. Look forward to talking with you next time we're together.